Welcome to Season 2 of Bed and Butter, the hospitality podcast designed exclusively for budding students and aspiring industry leaders. The podcast is in partnership with Southern Maine Community College. We're thrilled to continue this exciting journey with you. Each episode will delve into the heart of hospitality, uncovering invaluable insights, trends, and strategies. Join us along with culinary professionals, entrepreneurs, hotel and cruise line executives. Whether you're sharpening your skills or stepping into the world of hospitality for the first time, Bed and Butter is your go-to resource. So let's dive in and spread the knowledge, one episode at a time.
Welcome to today's episode, where we have the pleasure of speaking with a true visionary in the hospitality industry. With over 40 years of experience, Jonathan Bogatay has consistently set the standard for excellence and innovation. As president of Maine Course, Jonathan continues to lead with the same passion and insight that has defined his remarkable career. His leadership and expertise have made him a sought-after advisor for Hilton and Marriott, and his influence on the industry is undeniable. Jonathan is more than just a leader. He's a mentor to thousands, and his impact reaches far beyond the companies he's led. In today's episode, we'll dive into the lessons he's learned, the challenges he's overcome, and the wisdom he's gained along the way. Whether you're a seasoned professional or just starting out in the industry, Jonathan's insights are invaluable. Good morning, Jonathan.
Good morning, Sean.
Actually, I just thought of that. I wonder if we should be saying good morning where someone might be listening to this at midnight, but that's all right. They'll know what we're doing, early birds.
Well, how about this? Greetings, Sean.
There we go. That's great. Well, I feel so comfortable talking with you. We've been friends for many years, and people will learn how we've met and all that kind of stuff. But it's just nice to be able to share a relationship and share our histories in the business and maybe help some people that are young. So thank you for joining us.
Well, I've been looking forward to it. Thanks for the invitation.
Well, so Jonathan, I kind of coined your title, Bellman and Beyond, because I know your career has gone quite a ways from being a bellman a few years ago. Why don't you just take us briefly the steps of your career?
Well, I'd love to. First and foremost, my dad owned a roofing company. So growing up, it was just an expectation that during the summers, I'd work with him on the job site and do whatever I could. Just one downside being the heir apparent to a roofing company, I'm afraid of heights. And a roofer's son that's afraid of heights does not have a long career in the roofing industry. So I was looking for a job between my senior year of high school and freshman year of college. And my very best friend got a new girlfriend. And he no longer wanted to work as a bellman on the weekends because he wanted to spend time with her. So he introduced me to the assistant manager, and I was interviewed by Jim Wofford, and he had 3 questions for me. He said, "Hey, Jonathan, can you work 3 to 11? I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Can you work 11 to 7? I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Great, you're hired." I said, "Well, what was the 3rd question?" "Oh, it was just a test to make sure you could count." So lucky for me, he took me as a bellman.
So you went from there to where? What did you do?
Well, I worked as a bellman for a while, set up meeting rooms, and then I had the opportunity to go to college, and I worked all through college. I was on the 5-year plan. That's where you pay your own stool. So I needed to work my whole way through. But what a great experience. I was able to work in every department in a hotel. I've served every position except for chief engineer and executive chef. But between you and me, I love to cook. So I've been working on that in my entire career. But it's been just amazing. I guess I was invited to join the industry at 18 and I never left.
Wow. That's a great career. And, I guess what's the diversity of our careers with our jobs. I mean, it's like you're doing lots of different things. It's not, you don't go to work and get the same thing every day.
No, not at all. I've never had the same day twice, as a matter of fact. And some days I feel like I'm so excited because we're opening a new hotel and I can be part of that team to do whatever it takes. One of my favorite jobs that the team trusts me with is breaking down cardboard. So I'm the guy that breaks down all the boxes and takes it out to the dumpster. It takes a lot of trust to be able to be in charge of cardboard.
Well,
I love it.
well, I started doing that too. And then I said, we need a forklift, and I got one and I learned how to do it. And it was, so now I don't hold many things and say, I'm the boss, I'm the big guy, but I do when it comes to the forklift. I want the forklift.
And you're certified on forklifting?
I am certified, as a matter of fact. I wasn't for the first 10 years, but I figured I better get certified.
Good call.
So tell me about your foundation. You really started in a number of different roles, like you said, but then you kind of get into Promise and talk about what Promise is.
Sure. So back in the day, Promise was a hotel company that actually owned the Embassy Suites brand, the Homewood Suites brand, and this little up and coming brand called Hampton Inn. And I was hired by Phil Cordell, a true visionary, who was the first general manager at the very first Hampton Inn. And he stuck around in Memphis, Tennessee, and he reached out and was looking for 10 people that had experience in hotel operations and sales and marketing, which happened to fit my career path. And he invited me to come to Memphis and to be part of the opening team because they were planning on developing and opening 500 Hampton Inns, and they had to prepare for the growth. So they asked me to come on board, and just absolutely was a game changer. I traveled 6 days a week. I met with owners that were developing hotels and really became the go-to person between the brand and the developer and the operator to make sure that all of the Promise standards were put into place. And that was the thing with Promise, that it was absolutely critical that we followed that brand standard. So we had consistency and every guest had the right experience each and every time.
And that's really true today. I mean, we have 6, 7 Hamptons, and that's you get it. The waffle's a waffle.
That's right.
The bed is the bed.
Well, with Phil, it was in his DNA. He just believed that was critically important, was going to be a differentiator if we could have that level of consistency throughout a brand. And remember, we were talking about a big brand then. We had aspirations for 500 hotels. Anecdotally, I know they're well over 3,000 today. So I guess this little group in Memphis did okay.
Now, you took that and you kind of moved into the private sector with a developer, small developer at the time.
I did. I had the opportunity to work with North Central Group out of Madison, Wisconsin. And Dave Lenz is their founder and chairman. It's a family business. And I was invited in as VP of operations and really kind of felt excited and good because I've been on the franchise side, I've been on the brand side now, and was looking forward to expanding my career. And the opportunity that Dave presented to me was really the chance that I kind of, if you will, I felt good about knowing the hospitality industry, the hotel business, if you will. But what Dave gave me the chance to do was really learn the business of hotels. And that's a distinction, not just the way the hotel operates by department, but the real estate side, the finance side, the investor relations side. And it was truly a gift and something that I truly appreciate today.
So just reiterate that now, because I think we've got a lot of students and a lot of young professionals, and they're in the hotel business. But that's not exactly what you were just saying.
Right. So the hotel business could be that I'm working at a hotel as a front office manager or an executive housekeeper or even a general manager or a sales manager. And I consider myself in the hotel business. But as we think about growing, how do we do that? What if I wanted to have my own hotel? Well, I need to really understand the business of hotels, the real estate, how to build a building, how to acquire a building, how to have the operating business within that business, if you will, the hotel itself. But then also how to finance it, how to get investors that come along with it, and how much should we invest in the hotel when it comes to renovations. So all of that takes time. But for individuals that think about, the hotel business is only about working in a position or wearing a name tag, that's so not the case. There's a whole nother real estate side to our industry with finance and insurance and investor relations. That's incredibly exciting. And I would encourage any of our listeners that have that interest to not overlook that side of the equation as well.
So I would imagine it's helpful to have the history of working in the business, the hotel business, but then the business of hotels comes as well in a different side. Now, but real estate people can get in and be in the business of hotels.
Absolutely.
So there's really a crossover. And so I think that's a really good distinction. And I think that will help a lot of our listeners. Talk about a success story where you've worked with associate. We're back into the hotel business now, where you've been able to take an associate, work with them, and then they maybe became a leader and then maybe even an executive. Have you had a situation like that?
Oh, absolutely, Sean. I have to share with you, Curtis Wilcox is his name. Early in my career, we were opening a Hilton Garden Inn hotel. I was in the trailer that was on the job site. We were just pouring footers and foundations. This is how early in the game we were. And this young man came into the trailer and he said, "Hello, my name's Curtis. I want to interview for the chief engineer position here. I'm the chief engineer at another hotel, and I will be the best chief engineer you've ever hired." So just say yes. I wasn't sure if he was cocky or arrogant or crazy or a little bit of everything, but really engaging. So I stayed in touch with Curtis, and sure enough, we ended up hiring him as the chief engineer for that hotel. I lost a bet to Curtis. And, I got to admit, Sean, rarely do I lose a bet. But I lost a bet. Curtis is the only leader I'd ever worked with that took his hotel through an entire renovation and improved his guest satisfaction scores, both product and service, while they were under renovation. And he did such an amazing job. It ended up that he went from chief engineer to food and beverage manager to front office manager. And then eventually we were able to promote him to general manager. So what a great career path for Curtis. Not anything I did, just the testament to Curtis's perseverance and commitment to learning and growing. And I'm so proud to be able to say I was on a team with that started as a chief engineer and became a general manager.
That's a great story. And I think there's a lot of those kinds of stories in our industry, and a little boost of education might help a little, but it doesn't have to. But it really matters is how you work and what you do. And I think you've mentioned that a number of times. So you're in a hospitality space. I'll call it a space because it is a whole continuum, starting with bed and breakfast and Airbnb to economy hotels to mid-scale to upper mid-scale to full service and their whole realm resorts. Where do you kind of play? What space do you play in and why?
So I have experience actually in conference centers, resorts, full service hotels, select service hotels, dual branded properties, clustered locations. What's amazing about our business is there's just no lack of opportunity in different ways and different product types and tiers, really depending on what the guest experience looks like, feels like, and sounds like. For me and Main Course Hospitality Group is our focus is really, we're in that upper mid-scale to upscale side of the equation. We have some independent hotels. We just are blessed to have a variety of properties with great leaders. And I learn something new every day. I know the part that you and I joke about occasionally is I'm not afraid of anything. So we'll jump in with both feet and, we have a team that can figure it out. But absolutely love the space that we're in today. And I think what's exciting is having the experience in the background to be able to be open to new opportunities as they may present themselves. I really believe that growth is important, but also we want to be strategic in the way that we grow our business, just like Promise was in building a team because they knew they were going to add 500 hotels to the portfolio. They prepared for that growth. And I think about today, that's part of my job is to make sure that we prepare our company for the growth in whatever vehicle and shape and form it takes.
I back about the space I started in was a 19-room motel. And we had cottages. So my space started way down the thing. And I've moved up the food chain as well as we talk. So that's neat. And I just thought that was a good thing to share with folks and that how the continuum works. And you have to be open. And I think as a student or a young professional, sometimes you just have to be open to take a chance and try something and be ready to raise your hand. And I think I've heard that a lot in all the things is that sometimes the people who raise their hands are the ones who move forward faster.
You are absolutely right. And I think just the willingness to be curious and to say yes. Yes, I'll try it. I know I don't have any experience in this area, but I'm willing to learn it. I just think those are the individuals that really have that upward trajectory and are certainly associates that I would surround myself with.
A lot of our listeners are young professionals or people who are thinking about getting into our industry. How are you going to set them on the right path? Can you give them a little bit of a fatherly advice or senior executive advice?
I'd be happy to. I think, something that is often overlooked today is the value and the importance of having a mentor. When I say mentor, it's really someone that you can talk to, that you can bounce ideas off of, that you can, share some challenges that you have with, but also that they challenge you back. Over the years, I've had the privilege of having a couple of mentors that have really made a difference in my career trajectory. And I think just having someone that understands the interest of the individual, as well as understands the industry can help us make better decisions and help match up that career path. As you and I have discussed on more than one occasion, there's so many aspects to this incredible industry that we're in. If you want to work in the corporate office, you can work in accounting or finance or, a variety of ways. If you're passionate about food and beverage, all kinds of opportunities. It just really depends on following your passion, but having somebody in your corner that's willing to know you, get to know you, and help provide you with a good sounding board can make a real difference in picking the right path in our industry.
So have you had a mentor like that?
I have. I've had a couple of mentors, but my first and most impactful mentor was a gentleman by the name of Robert Carsey. And what I loved about Robert was he saw the potential in me long before I even knew that this was the industry that I wanted to grow in. And I think the value that he provided, Sean, was that he was a teacher. He would show me how to read a financial statement. He would help me understand departments that I wasn't responsible for, to understand how they work and what are the key metrics that make them work. He was willing to show me and give me the opportunity to make some mistakes along the way. And I really have to stress that because I've made some doozies over the years. And just knowing that I didn't have to live in fear of reprisal, but actually he would just say, hey, now you know one way how not to do something. Let's not do that again. So having that mentor, that teacher, that coach that's willing to be in your corner absolutely makes a difference. And I will tell you, though, it wasn't all easy. Robert, he's old school, so he believed in tough love. and that was not something that he shied away from. But boy, if he believed in me and believed that if I was willing to make the commitment, he was going to be right by my side and was going to help me learn it along the way. And I certainly would not be where I am today if it wasn't for people like Robert Carsey that took an interest in me. And now at this point in my career, I'm excited to be able to do that with others.
I was going to mention that. I think I've seen that in how you react. And I consider you a mentor. I know we're kind of in similar roles, but I still consider you someone I reach to and I follow and watch how you react so I can learn from it. So, I mean, I do consider you a mentor, and I thank you for that. But I think one of the other thing about great leaders is that when you get to a certain point, you say, it's time. It's time for me to be that mentor that I admired so much. And I think you have done that. And I think that's a great, so you're pretty good success level in life and business, but what are your success habits? What things do you do that help keep you where you need to be successful?
Well, I read a lot, but not just business. I love the hospitality industry and I'm passionate about it. So I want to stay current. But actually I read history and I read some fiction along the way as well. I like to read some different philosophies, different approaches to leading people and decision making. I think that helps keep me fresh. Also, it challenges my logic, and sometimes, as you know, I have an opinion and I'm not afraid to share it, but it's not always right. It's not always a good one. But what it does is it starts a conversation. And that's really what I want to do. I want to continue to learn from the people that I work with every day. I don't want them to come to me and think I have all the answers because I'm not that smart. But I do want to make sure that we create an environment where we put all of the ideas on the table and we nurture it together. And I think that's really important as a success habit, being willing to share your opinion. How many times have you been in a meeting and somebody, might have something to say, but they may not bring it up, or they feel intimidated, or they may even think it's a bad idea. And it is amazing over our years, and I'm sure you attest to this, how many times a bad idea got on the table that ended up being shaped and morphed into something extraordinary that we were able to lean into. So I absolutely believe that's a key piece. I have a commitment to lifelong learning, but also part of what served me well is I'm pretty organized. I put a system in place. I work really hard to get organized and stay organized. Now, occasionally in my zest for organization, I'll misfile something and then I find it later. Nothing more frustrating than that. Or I'll have to come back and say, okay, I know I had it, but I don't have it. But thankfully, the people that I work with are gracious enough to indulge me there. But I think a level of organization is important, and that I make time to plan. That was something that I learned very early on. I'm an early riser. Now, nowhere near as early as you, Sean, because I know you're up before the sun. But usually first thing in the morning, I will use that time to plan. What do I want to accomplish today? What do I want to accomplish this week? Reflecting on anything that I need to get done. And I think that's a skill set that's learned and one that would really behoove anybody that's entering business or is a 30-year veteran in business. You've got to make time to plan. There's that old saying that, you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I think there is some truth to that in just carving out some time to think and to make sure that you know what are your priorities and what do you need to accomplish in the set of time that you have.
As you mentioned, priorities in life, you have priorities, and you have a family, you have a business, you have a personal life, your own personal needs. How do you balance? I know you can't really equally balance, but how do you get through those things to feel better?
It's an interesting question. I've been reading a lot, with wellness and understanding the world that we're in today and how important it is to think about work-life balance, right? And how to balance. But I think some people think balance is like the scales of justice, 50-50. For me, I've not found it to work that way. I found it more like a metronome that goes back and forth. There's an arc to my work. Sometimes it's required that I spend more time working on our business and focusing on that. And then other times, the metronome swings back the other way, and I can invest some time on the things that I want to do on the personal side. And so really it's about balance. It's about understanding how you work, when you're your best, and then making sure that you make time for the things and the people in life that are important to you. I know one of our core values as a company is family. And I really found that attractive to being part of the main course team because family is important to me. My wife and my children are important to me. My extended family is important to me. And I want to make myself available to be there for them, to be part of their lives in whatever way I can. And main course encourages that. And so I would encourage any of our listeners to think about what are your absolutes? What are your core values? What's really important to you? And then make sure as you're on your career journey that those values, your values, align with the company or the team that you're working with. It's so critically important so that you have that balance and you have that chance to make a difference.
I was having a conversation with a professional woman who she talked about when she had smaller kids and how she made decisions. And sometimes she didn't wish she'd done. She wished she had spent a little time on that first day of kindergarten or something else. But what she says now is that, you've got to you create a value within your job. So if you are a valuable person, no one is going to have any problem with you going to the football game on Friday afternoon. And you've created a value. So that's where I think the metrodome that you talked about, that it does. If you're making those constant tweaks and adjustments, no one's going to have a problem with you taking that time. So I think that's great. And you're right. I do value that as well. And I value it now more than I used to. And so now maybe that I'm at a senior level and you're at a senior level, we can continue to, work with people on wellness and their balance in life.
I think it's important though that we lead by example. I think there's a whole world of do as I say, not necessarily as I do. And so I think, for leaders, it's a personal challenge to say, hey, how do I lead by example? How do I not only encourage our team, but emulate those behaviors? I think that's an important piece of it as well.
So we should make this public that we're looking for a day to go out on a boat at 3:00 in the afternoon, you and I and our wives.
I'm all in.
You hire people, Jonathan, to be leaders. And so we've got a lot of young people who want to what do I need to know? What traits what's important to you, Jonathan? And what's a trait you do not care for?
Well, it's funny, it's evolved over time. When I first started in the business, I had a stack of resumes in the corner of my desk, and it might have been about 12 inches deep, and I needed a position filled. I went through the first 3, made 3 phone calls and hired the person that I needed, never got to the ones below. As time has gone on, our industry's evolved, our world's evolved, and really the labor market has evolved. It's really come down to, really making sure that fit matters, that we're hiring the right person that fits the company and the company's the right fit for them. And then as we peel that back into just some specific traits, some things that I look for in an individual and we'll ask questions when we interview around work ethic. Tell me about, how do you work? What's important to you? I look for curiosity where I can. I've found that, just people that are naturally curious do really great work and they do a great job in our industry, asking why. Why do we do it this way? Why do we do it that way? And then oftentimes, hey, have we ever considered trying this or trying that? And that can be a great vehicle for creativity. Flexibility is important. Like I said, when I first started, there were 3 shifts. We had flexibility in our business, 7 to 3, 3 to 11, 11 to 7. That's flexible. Well, our world has evolved completely today. And as employers, we have to understand what it means to be flexible. But we also need our current and future associates to be flexible as well, based on our business demands. In our resort seasons and resort markets, we're busy, 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 busy. And then the pendulum swings the other way, and you need them to flex with us as well when we're a little bit slower. And that's a shared responsibility. And then I would say my biggest one, I'm not sure if it's a trait or it could just be an honest and truly pet peeve, but just commitment to finish the job they started. I see so many times individuals that start something and then they don't get it over the finish line. They lose interest in it. They only go halfway. And I really think, for us in our industry, where service is so critical into creating the right guest experience, we've got to follow through. We have to start it, deliver on it, and get it over the finish line. So to me, those are some pieces that I will ask in behavioral interview questions around when I'm interviewing a potential leader or an associate to just make sure that we're the right fit for them and they're the right fit for us.
Boy, that's great. I think I hope they're taking notes. They're probably going to rewind and replay that one again. Thanks. So we got to finish up here, Jonathan, but give our listeners a message. Here's your chance. You've got an audience out there. Give them a message that's really going to impact them.
Well, Sean, I guess if I may, I'm going to give you two, or our listeners two. One, obtaining your degree, in my mind, it's just the beginning. In essence, it's opening the door for us. But, then it's really up to each one of us to demonstrate how our individual talents, skills, and abilities can add value to anything and everything that we do. If we think about our industry, think about our career choices, it's really about how do we, as an individual, add value to the collective success of the hotel or the restaurant or the cruise ship or the enterprise at large. So really thinking through, how do I add value? How do I leverage the unique things, the tools that I have in my tool belt to help make me better and help make our business better? And then I think the second thought that I would leave our listeners with is, don't be afraid to dream big. This is a big world out there. This is a global industry that we're in. And, if you dream big, don't be afraid to follow those big dreams, because I know for a fact that Bellmen do become presidents. So dream big.
Wow. That's so inspirational, Jonathan. Thank you so much for joining me and joining our listeners today. And can't wait to watch you continue your growth and development in the state of Maine.
Well, Sean, thank you so much, and keep up the great work that you do, the passion that you share with all of our listeners. And thank you for representing our industry so well.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Bed and Butter, the hospitality podcast produced in partnership with Southern Maine Community College. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so that you don't miss any episodes, and have a butterful day.